Hi everyone, here's video 3 and we're going to start working towards completing exams for VITA. So the first 2 exams that we're going to do are the ethics training exam, which is what we call the volunteer standards of conduct. Sometimes they call it the code of conduct. And then the second one is the intake, interview, and quality review exam. Okay, so there are a couple of publications available for training, and we're going to go through those in this video. Okay, so for the standards of conduct, we're going to use publication 4961. That is in WIO courses, and you can also Google publication 4961. Just make sure you get the 2020 version. Okay, so we're going to go through the training. And we're not going to sit there and read the training word for word. That's not the kind of teacher I am. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of scroll through a lot of it, and I'm going to hit the important pieces of it. If you want to take the time to go through word for word with the volunteer standards of conduct and the intake interview quality review training, please do so. Okay, if you're that person who needs to sit there and read in order to learn, please do so. Okay. I am getting you to a point where you understand what's expected of you and then to get you through the exam. With the intake, interview, and quality review, we use something called Publication 5101. It is in PDF form, but it's slides. They're slides. And it shouldn't take terribly long to go through, but there are a couple of new pieces of information that we have to make sure that we talk to our clients about. And the other big thing with the intake interview is the sheet. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I have that. So the sheet is called a Form 13614-C. Okay, and it looks like this. So it's yellow. Every single return that we prepare has to have this sheet filled out to the best of their ability. Okay. There are also green sheets, which are Spanish versions of this intake quality review sheet. Okay. So we do get quite a few Spanish-speaking individuals that come in that would prefer to fill out that sheet. We just have to make sure we have someone there to interpret for them, and most of the time they bring somebody, which is awesome. So if anybody here who's going to be volunteering is fluent in Spanish, please let me know. That way with booking, we can make sure our Spanish-speaking clients can be booked with you. We had a couple last year. I'm hoping maybe we have at least one this year. I know one returning volunteer who does speak fluent Spanish is going to come back and help us out, but I don't know how much he's going to be able to do that. So if we don't have any, you know what, that's okay. We'll just have to let those taxpayers know they need to bring an interpreter with them. Most of the time they bring their children, which is great, you know, and those kiddos, they have to sit there and do it, but they're awesome little pieces to getting our Spanish-speaking clients through the process. So once we're done with this, we're going to go through that test. Each of these tests are 10 questions. Pretty easy. A lot of it is pretty straightforward. So what we're going to be using are the training guides, those 2 publications, and our testing booklet with this video. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up our first training guide for the volunteer standards of conduct. They call this the code of conduct or the ethics training for 2020. So this is publication 4961. Okay, and again, I'm not going to go through all 42 pages of this. I'm just going to kind of scroll through, and when I hit something that I want to talk to you about, I'm going to stop and I'm going to talk to you about it. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is in here, you know, annually we have to make sure we're passing all 3 of these tests again. It's all here. Fun stuff that you can learn through. Okay, the objectives of the training, to list the 6 volunteer standards of conduct. Okay, describe what unethical behavior is, identify consequences for not complying with these standards, okay, how are volunteers protected through the IRS, okay, and then basic steps that we use to do the intake, interview, and quality review process. We'll also go through that with the second publication, okay. I don't feel I need to describe what unethicalness is, so I'm not going to. Okay, if you're ever in a situation where you're like, that's when you need to come talk to me, and I can tell you one way or another what we should be doing about this. Okay? All right. So the first thing I have highlighted here are the volunteer standards of conduct. Okay, what we have to do, okay, there are 6 of them there. We have to follow quality site requirements. Okay, we cannot accept any payments or solicit donations. Okay, we cannot accept refund payments from customers. Okay, you're going to get customers that come and say, hey, I want to pay you guys somehow, some way. Okay, what can I do? And what I tell them is, 1, I cannot accept any payment. This is a free site. This is what we do. 2, if you want to donate money, find your favorite charity to donate to, or donate to the United Way of Albany County. Okay, that is what we do. Okay, you're going to get people that come in and they give you candy or cookies, or they want to buy us dinner. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I would not accept any of that. Okay, but you know what? People want to do it, and I guess it's up to you whether that's something that you want to accept. But really, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we're just not going to allow any of that to come into our site. Okay, we do not solicit business from our taxpayers or use their information to solicit business ever. Okay, we don't knowingly prepare false returns. We don't engage in any criminal activity. Okay, and we want to make sure we're treating all of our taxpayers in a professional and courteous and respectful manner. Okay, what are the 10 quality site requirements? Okay, the first one here is certification. That's what all this training is for. Passing exams, making sure you have passed the appropriate exam to pass that level. Okay, so if our scope says, if our client has filled out something and our scope says that you need an advanced certification, we have to make sure that we're assigning that to someone who has passed the advanced test. Most of the returns that come in are basic scope returns. So normally we don't have to worry about that, but we do have at least 2 people who can prepare advanced exams, and those guys that aren't prepared, that aren't certified for advanced, you guys can sit there and watch us. Okay, and then if you're like, I'm going to take that advanced exam, you be my guest. And then you can go ahead and do that. But basically what we're saying is making sure we're in scope with the basic and advanced exams here. Okay. The second one is the intake interview and quality review process. Okay, so what we do when every customer comes in is we have them fill out this thing called a Form 13614-C. That's that yellow thing. I'm going to go ahead and give you a picture of what it looks like just in PDF form. It's this guy. Okay, so basically they fill out all this information and we use this information to help prepare their return. But this is something that we must provide to every taxpayer, and we tell them to fill it out to their best of ability. And then before we even start the exam, okay, the return, we go through this and we make sure anything that's not filled out, we talk to our client about, okay, and we make sure that all of these are checked either yes or no. Sometimes they're going to mark unsure. Sometimes they're going to leave it blank. When they do that, we ask them a question. Oh, I see that you marked unsure about disability income. What are you talking about with that? And then they're going to tell you. Okay, so this is what we want to make sure that we're doing. Okay, the other big thing that we need to make sure that we're doing right here, did you receive an economic impact stimulus payment for 2020? Okay, we have to ask that question. At the beginning, when we go in and we start our client return, we have to ask that question. And they need to tell us what they actually got, whether that was cash, whether it was in the form of a debit card, whatever it was, we need to know the amount, and they're going to know. They're going to tell you. Okay. I would say probably 100% of the people that come in, sans our non-resident aliens that come in, will have received an economic impact stimulus payment. Okay, we just need to know the amount, okay, of what it was, because we have to enter that into TaxSlayer. But that's a big thing. Okay, the other thing in here is charitable contributions. Let's see if I can find. I don't know if this one's in here or not yet. So there should be a thing in here about charitable contributions, something that's new for 2020. If the taxpayer is using the standard deduction, okay, up to $300 of cash charitable contributions can be deducted as a for AGI deduction, an adjustment on their tax return. Okay, that's something I'll talk about later when I start talking about itemized deductions, but that's new as well. But they have to be cash contributions to a charitable organization. Okay, so they have to qualify as a charitable contribution. They must be in cash, and the maximum per return is $300. It doesn't matter how many people are on the return. The maximum per return is $300. Okay, and that's only if they use the standard deduction. If they itemize, which most of our clients don't, if they itemize, then they don't get that benefit. But if they use the standard deduction, that's something new that they can do. Okay, so all of this needs to have some kind of an answer. I mean, back here we don't really do a ton because a lot of these questions we can't require them to answer them. Okay, we just say, hey, do you want to answer these questions? And most of them don't. Okay, and then the very last thing in here, this is not on the, at least I don't think it is on this form. Oh, it is. Yeah, this consent to disclose tax return information. Okay, this is basically a way of saying we roll your information over to the next year. So when we prepare your return next year, all your demographic information is already in there. Okay, so we get their consent. They sign and date this. Okay, if there's a spouse, they sign and date too, and then we can go ahead when we finish our return. We can click that. If they don't consent to that, we cannot e-file. We can do a paper return, but we cannot e-file unless they consent to the consent to disclose, which is basically rolling their information forward to the next year. It just is what it is. Okay, so that's the form. Okay, we have to make sure we're going through that form. We're going through the interview process. Okay, once you are done preparing a tax return, it has to be quality reviewed, no matter what. Okay, which means, okay, the quality reviewers, me, okay, Kat, and any other person that we deem a quality reviewer has to review the return for accuracy, meaning they go through that intake interview form again with the client. Okay, they go through it and they ask any questions and they check the return for accuracy. And then if everything is good and they're ready to go, we leave and you finish the return with the client. Okay, so that process has to be done every return, no matter what. Okay, the third requirement, confirming identity. Okay, so we have to make sure we have some kind of confirmation. Okay, so photo identification is the best way. Okay, so going in and making sure these clients have their photo identification with them. It doesn't really matter what kind of photo identification it is. It's just some kind of identification. Okay. All right. The other thing we need is to make sure that all Social Security numbers and ITINs are on the form as well. We actually have another form that they have to fill out, and it's something that we do. It's not anything that the IRS requires. It's basically a way to get Social Security numbers, individual taxpayer identification numbers, and then full names of everybody on the return. And we can do, it's just a way to double check everything, basically. So that's something that you'll see when you walk into the session as well, that every single person has to fill out, and then we keep these yellow forms and the white form that they fill out for that. Okay. All right, reference materials. Okay, we have to have one of these on site, and we will. Okay, every station has a 401t. I will make sure publication 17 is available there for everybody. Okay, the privacy, confidentiality, and civil rights. It's a little poster basically, and then making sure you guys have access to volunteer tax alerts and any other alerts. All of that will be in a binder. Okay, that you can have available to you at every site. Okay. The volunteer agreement, okay, I talked about that in Link and Learn. That's something that you have to sign. The easiest way to do it is once you get in there to take exams, you click on it and you digitally sign it and it's available. Okay, all right, so that's this thing here, okay, making sure we timely file. So we are going, you guys are preparing, I'm filing. Nobody has the right to file electronically but me. Okay, so what it does is it puts it into a batch, and then I go ahead and do all that. Okay, making sure we're not violating anyone's civil rights. Okay, making sure we enter the correct identification number on all the returns. That's all done inside tax layers, so that's all on me. Okay, making sure we have an EFIN, which we do. Okay, and then security. How do we protect their information that we keep? The only thing we keep is this yellow piece, the white piece that I talked about with social security number and names. And then we keep one copy of their W-2 and one copy of any 1099-R. That just means retirement distribution. That's all we keep, nothing else. The taxpayer goes home with everything else. If a taxpayer can't finish a return at their appointment and they have to come back, everything goes back with them. We don't keep anything other than those designated things. Okay. And what happens is I take them all back to my office, and they sit in a filing cabinet that's locked. And then at the end of the season, I shred everything. Okay, so that's what our security is. Okay, it's basically a way to make sure that everything is secure according to their payment. Okay, all right. Number 2 says we don't accept payment. Okay, that's pretty simple. We just don't. Okay, you cannot have a client deposit their refund in your account and you give it to them. We don't do that. Nothing like that. No donations or anything like that. Okay. We do not solicit business from our taxpayers. Our taxpayer information is confidential, so we can't use it in any way. We can direct them. Okay, so maybe they need help with insurance at the marketplace. We can go ahead and direct them to that website, but we can't use it to give them to our friend who sells insurance. We can't do stuff like that. Okay, so we are a 100% free site, and we don't use their information for anything other than preparing their tax return. Okay. All right. We don't knowingly prepare false returns. That's where quality review comes in. Okay. You're going to make mistakes. We're going to catch it. It is what it is. Okay. But we can't knowingly not put information in a return that's supposed to be there. Okay. So we do not ever knowingly prepare a false return. Okay. Identity theft. Some taxpayers will come in who said their identity was stolen, and they normally have a little piece of paper that has a filing pin on it that we have to use in the return. Okay. If we ever get a client, like if we have a client come in that has that, I'm probably going to pull some of you over so you can watch how that works. Okay. This is a teaching course, and our clients know it and they don't mind. Okay. So anytime you have a client come in that has a little piece of paper that says they have to use an identity theft pin, we enter that into the tax return, so they know, so the IRS knows it's actually them doing it. Okay. If you engage in any criminal, infamous, dishonest, or notoriously disgraceful conduct, I can kick you out of the program. Okay. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with the program. You can't engage in any criminal activity. Okay. So please don't do that. That's all I'm going to say about that. Consequences is me kicking you out, and you never get a volunteer for VITA ever again. Please don't be that person. Okay. We want to make sure we're treating everyone with respect. We're professional. We're courteous. Okay. We bite our tongues when we have to. Okay. All of these folks that come in, they're very, very happy with what we're doing for them. Okay. So we just want to make sure that they know we're here to help. Okay. We're not here to judge any of that. We are here to help. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. All right. Due diligence. Okay. All due diligence means is that we're asking appropriate questions when we should. When we're going through our intake interview, okay, if they have one of the things marked unsure, we're asking the question. Okay. Hey, you marked this as unsure. Is that right? Okay. Oh, I see 4 W-2s. Do you have any more? Okay. Oh, I see you marked that you had taxable interest, but I don't see a form. Where was that from? So we are respectfully prying for information. That's it. Okay. We do our due diligence. Sometimes our taxpayers are going to lie to us, And as long as we're asking the questions and we really don't have any reason to believe they are lying, that's okay. Okay? So we need to make sure that if there ever is something that we're like, I don't know, that's when you come find me. Okay? You find a tax preparer with more experience. Okay? And if you have to look some stuff up and the taxpayer can't say, you say, all right, I'm going to have you come in at another time, okay, and I'm going to research that. Okay? Most of the time we never have to do that, but it can happen. Okay? So making sure that our clients know that we're doing the best we can and we have the knowledge that we have to work with is going to be our best thing there. All right. Who enforces these standards? I do. And you should enforce them yourself as well. Okay, so making sure that we are doing the best we can with making sure all of these standards are complied with is a huge, huge thing. Okay, all right, so the rest of this, I don't really think there's a whole lot in here. Volunteer Protection Act. Basically, if you are a VITA volunteer, okay, you've been certified, you are protected underneath the IRS. A volunteer is protected. I'm the one that signs my name on every single tax return that goes through VITA. Okay, so I protect you. The IRS protects you from any liability. As long as you're not knowingly preparing false returns, there's no liability that you have there. Okay? All right, the rest of this, like I said, I don't think any of this is here. Exercises, blah, 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 blah. So if you wanted to go through all this, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, but I am done with that training, and what I want to do is I want to go into the test. Okay, so if you want to open up your booklet, okay, or if you have the PDF version and you just want to mark on it, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so the testing questions. So there are actually two tests in there. They have the testing questions, and then they have something called a retest. The retest is only used if you fail the original test, which you're not. So you should never have to worry about the retest. But basically, the retest is the same test, just worded in a different way. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through each of these test questions with you and tell you what the answer is. So the very first one, prior to working at a VITA TCE type, TCE is just another word for tax preparation. Okay. Volunteers must do what? A, annually pass the VSOC test with an 80 or higher. Yes. B, sign and file the form 13615, which is the agreement. Yes. Pass the advanced tax law certification. No. The basic is the last one that you have to pass. Okay. So our answer here is E, both A and B. Can a volunteer be removed and barred from the VITA program for violating the VSOC, the standards of conduct? Yep, they can. A. Okay. If a taxpayer offers you a $20 bill because they were so happy with what you did, what do? You refuse. Okay. You thank the taxpayer and explain that you cannot accept any payment for your services. Okay. If they really want to give money, tell them to go donate to their favorite charitable organization. That's what you do. Okay. Number 4, Jake is an IRS tax law certified volunteer preparer at a VITA site. When he is preparing a return for Jill, Jake learns that Jill does not have a bank account. Okay, and what she wants to do, okay, is she wants Jake to take her refund, put it in his account, and then she can go ahead and have Jake give her the money. Is that okay? And the answer is no, that is not okay. Okay. Jake should explain that a taxpayer's federal state refund cannot be deposited into a VITA volunteer's bank account, and she's going to have to go open up her own account. Okay. If she wants direct deposit, okay, she can also just say, send me a paper check. That's the easiest thing to do. Okay. It takes a little longer to get it, but we can't do what she was wanting to do up here. So B is our answer there. Okay. Max prepares a tax return for Allie at a VITA site. He finds out during the interview that Allie has no health insurance. After Allie leaves the site, Max writes her name and contact information down, to take home to his wife who sells health insurance for profit. Okay, which of the following statements is true? There is no violation. False. Max has violated the volunteer standards of conduct because he is using confidential information to engage in a financial transaction to further his own or another person's interest. Yes, that's true. Max is doing Al a favor by using her personal information to secure business for his wife. Okay. He might be doing her a favor, but he can't do that. Okay. Information a taxpayer provides at a VITA site can be used for a volunteer's personal gain. Okay. So B is here. You can't use the information. You have to develop amnesia after every return and get rid of it. Okay. All right. 6. Bob, an IRS tax law certified volunteer preparer, told the taxpayer that cash income does not need to be reported because the IRS doesn't know about it. Okay. Bob indicated no cash income on Form 13614C. That's the intake interview yellow sheet. Bob prepared a tax return excluding the cash. Jim, the designated quality reviewer, was unaware of the conversation and therefore unaware of the cash income, and the return was printed, signed, and e-filed. Who violated the volunteer standards of conduct? Bob. Okay. Quality reviewers only know what we see here and the questions that we ask the taxpayer when we're quality reviewing. Okay. If they're intentionally leaving things out, we don't know about that. But Bob knew. Okay. So Bob is the only person who violated the standards of conduct because he knew about the cash and he decided not to report it. Okay. Cash income is reportable. Even though you don't get a form, it's reportable. Okay. So A is the answer here. Jim did not violate the standards of conduct because he didn't know about it. Okay. The site coordinator was Betty. She didn't know about it either. Okay. Bob did. All right. 7. Sue, a VITA site coordinator, was watching the local news when she saw one of her VITA volunteers being arrested for embezzlement. She saw Aaron being led out of the bank in handcuffs. 3 days later, Sue is shocked when she sees Aaron show up at a site ready to volunteer, apparently out on bond. She pulls Aaron aside and tells him that him being there could show negatively on the site, and she asks him to leave. Okay, Sue uses the external referral process to report to the IRS about Aaron. Did she do the right thing? Yes, she did. He shouldn't be there. She has to report any violation of the volunteer standards of conduct by a VITA preparer. All right. 8. Heidi, a volunteer for, she's a volunteer for the standards of conduct, is working at the intake station. So she's the person that greets them and she gives them the intake interview form. As part of her duties, she is required to explain to the taxpayer what they are expected to do today as part of the return preparation process. What should Heidi tell them? Okay. Form 13614-C, the intake interview and quality review sheet, must be completed prior to having the return prepared? Yes. You will be interviewed by the return preparer and asked additional questions as needed? Yes. You need to participate in a quality review of your tax return by someone other than the preparer? Yes. So D is our answer there. During the intake process, the volunteer should verify the taxpayer and spouse, if applicable, have photo ID. Yes. Additionally, taxpayers must provide verification of the taxpayer identification numbers for everyone who will be on the tax return. Yes. So true. Last question, Mary, a volunteer standards of conduct certified greeter, okay, reviews the taxpayer's completed intake interview form to identify what potential volunteer certification level is needed for this tax return. Mary sees the taxpayers check the yes box indicating he has self-employment income, and the certification level next to the question is A, advanced. All other questions answered yes had B, basic. When Mary assigns a return to a taxpayer, what tax law certification level should the tax preparer have? A, advanced. If even one of them is marked A, an advanced preparer needs to prepare it. Or a basic preparer could look at it, but an advanced preparer has to be there helping prepare the return. Okay, so your answer is A, advanced there. Okay, so there are your answers to the volunteer standards of conduct exam. Okay, all right. So the second thing that we want to do here, okay, is do the intake interview and quality review training, which is publication 501, and deal with that exam there. Okay, so publication 501 looks like a whole bunch of slides, even though it's in PDF form. Okay, so that's what this is. So again, I'm going to cherry pick what I go through, and then we're going to go ahead and take the exam in the booklet. Okay, so at the end of this lesson, what you're going to be able to do is follow a consistent process for intake, interview, and quality review. Know the different parts, okay, basic steps to do all three. Okay, so our introduction here, I'm just going to kind of wander through this. Here's some materials if you want to get to them. Okay, this is a quick thing I want to, when I start going through the pieces, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the form that I have here. Okay, so methods, basically going through everything and making sure everything is answered in some way or form. Okay, verifying identity. Okay, we need to make sure that there are photo IDs. Okay, and then, I mean, a taxpayer needs to make sure that Social Security numbers are correct. Most taxpayers bring in their Social Security cards or their I-10 cards. Okay, so making sure those are there as well. Okay, making sure that when we're going through, and again, I'm going to go through this again with you, that if something is answered yes and it says code, it's certified A, that means an advanced preparer has to be there helping prepare the return. Okay, most of our returns are basic. Okay, I don't know if I've ever had any military returns come in, but if they do, we have to have someone who's certified doing military returns as well. Okay, in the interview process, we want to make sure we're going through the intake interview form first before we even start the return. Okay, we are making sure our certification level is correct, and the taxpayer is going to bring you a whole bunch of forms and information. We're going to go through that too. Okay, all right. So making sure we're clarifying any questions that are on the intake interview form or any questions that they have themselves. Okay, and these are just some questions that are asked. You know, we always want to be respectful and respectfully pry for them. If you ask a question and they're not going to answer it, okay, or they give you the runaround, okay, we move on, and we want to make sure that they're not doing something that we deem odd. That's a weird word for it. We want to make sure they're not lying to us. Okay, and you're gonna know it if they are. I've never had that happen, but who knows, man? It's possible. Okay, so a lot of this stuff you can kind of go through yourself. I'm gonna go through the form with you as well here. I just want to make sure that there's nothing in here that I'm gonna miss. Anything that I want to really look at here, the income, any expenses, life events, additional information, the consent to disclose. We've talked about all that stuff. Due diligence, I've talked to you about that as well. Preparing the tax return, quality review, all of that stuff is something that I will do or a quality reviewer will do. Here's the course summary and the test questions. Okay, so if you need to come back to this, please do so, but I'm going to go right into the form itself, and I want to kind of walk through it with you. Okay, here we go. So the beginning of the form is just a demographic data, okay? Their first name and last name. Telephone numbers, we want to get that. If they don't want to give us a telephone number, okay, they need to give us an email address. Why? Because if something goes wrong and a return is rejected, I have to talk to these guys. So we need a daytime telephone number or an email address to get a hold of them. One or the other, always, no exceptions. Okay. Are they U.S. citizens? Is this spouse U.S. citizens? Mailing address, date of birth. You know, sometimes they don't put job titles in. If they don't answer that question, we ask them, hey, what is it that you do? And they're going to tell us, okay? Are they permanently and totally disabled? Are they full-time students or legally blind? All that stuff there. Can anyone claim you or your spouse as a dependent? Meaning, if you're a student, can someone claim you as a dependent? If they write yes, that's a box we have to check when we're preparing the tax return. If they write no, then we don't have to worry about it. If they say they don't know, I make clients call their parents right there. If they say, I don't know if my mom and dad are claiming me, I make them call their parents and ask the question right there. Okay? And they're okay doing that. Okay? All right. Have you or your spouse or your dependents ever been a victim of identity theft? Do you have an identity protection pin? If they write yes, then we say, hey, can we see that document? Did you bring it? And they do. Okay, so that's there. Marital information. Okay, this helps us determine filing status, which is in a later video. Okay, all right. List the names below of everyone who lived with you last year. Anyone you supported but not lived with you last year. This is how we determine whether they have dependents. Okay, so that's what all this stuff is here. Okay, then we have all these yes, no, and sure. Okay, the first one is for income. Did you have wages and salary? Did you have tips? Did you have scholarships? Did you have interest and dividends? Walking through, did you have self-employment income? Okay, that's advanced. Okay, did you have any virtual currency payments or transactions? That's advanced. Okay, disability, retirement income or payments from pension or annuities. I'm not quite sure why that's listed at advanced. So, but somebody advanced will always be there to review a return, just so you know. Unemployment, retirement, rental properties. We do get a few of those people who come in for rental properties. Okay. Any other income like gambling, winnings, prizes and awards, stuff like that. Okay. That's all going to be there. Okay. Expenses. These are your personal expenses. Did you have to pay out any alimony? Okay. Did you make contributions to a retirement account? Okay. Did you have any college or post-secondary educational expenses? And if they mark yes there, where's your 1098T? And that's something we'll get to when we talk about the credits for learning. Okay. Did you have any medical and dental charitable contributions? Did you pay any taxes? Can you itemize is the question here. Okay. And if you can't, did you have any charitable contributions in cash? Because that means you have to put them on as an adjustment. Okay. Did you pay any daycare expenses for your kids so you could either work or go to school? Okay. Did you have any educator expenses? Did you spend any money on your classroom? And we have to make sure they worked at least 900 hours during the year. Okay. Did you have any self-employment income or expenses? We get quite a few that do. Okay. Did you have any student loan interest that you paid? Okay. Life events. Okay. Do you have an HSA account? Okay. Most of our clients don't, but some do. Okay. Do you have any debt canceled? Did you adopt any kiddos? Do you have any disallowed credits? Most of the time they don't. Okay. Let's see, all these things here, we just have to make sure that they're answering yes or no. This big one here, okay, did you receive an economic impact stimulus payment? And 9, do you have health insurance through the exchange? Okay, they're gonna know if they do, and they're gonna bring in the appropriate form, the 1095A. Okay, all right. Additional information, email, let's try to get that on every single one. Do they want to contribute to the election campaign fund? Probably not. If you're due a refund, you want a direct deposit. Most of them do because they know it comes faster to them if they do, but we need to make sure we get all their bank account information. Did you live in an area that was declared a federal disaster? Did you or your spouse file jointly and receive a letter from the IRS? Okay, and then this is all stuff that they don't necessarily have to answer because it's not required. Okay? If they do, great. If they don't, that's okay too. And then the last page is the consent to disclose. They need to either sign it or not, one way or the other. Okay? So that's the form. All right? So these forms will be available for you. I'm going to actually make sure that's uploaded in Royal Courses if you want your own copy. And then for those of you who aren't students, I can go ahead and provide this copy for you as well. Okay? All right, so let's go to the exam booklet and get this test taken. Okay? It looks like what did I do with my booklet? Okay, let me get back in here and find my booklet. I shut it down and I shouldn't have. Here it is. Okay, so let's see, get here to 75. Let's go into my exam booklet here. And I want quality review. Here it is, intake, interview, and quality. That's the retest. Sorry, wrong one. Let's go. We want plain questions. This one, volunteer test. Here we go. Okay. So we're going to do the same kind of test with 10 questions, and then you can go into Link and Learn and enter these answers in and get the certifications. Okay. All right. All IRS certified volunteer preparers participating in the VITA site must use Form 13614-C, okay, which is this, the intake interview quality review sheet for every return. Yes, true. Okay. What should the volunteer preparer do before starting the return? Make sure all questions are answered on the intake interview sheet. Yes. Change your answers to yes or no based on a conversation with the taxpayer. Yes. Complete all applicable certified volunteer preparer shaded area questions on the 13614C. Yes. D. All of the above is our answer there. Okay. When reviewing the intake interview, you should you see the interest question is marked yes, and the taxpayer gives you a Form 1099 INT. Okay. You should ask the taxpayer if they have any other interest income. Yes, you should. That's part of due diligence. That's part of that respectful prying. Okay. Hey, is this it? That's how I ask it. Here's all the W-2s. Here's the interest. Is this it, or is there anything else? Easy. Okay. All right, 4. VITA sites are required to conduct quality reviews of all the returns prepared by volunteers who have less than 2 years of experience. No. Of every return prepared at the site? Yes. Only when there is a quality reviewer available. There will always be a quality reviewer available. Of all returns prepared by volunteers with certification levels below advanced military international. It's of every single return. Every return has to be quality reviewed. So B is our answer there. You do not need to see proof of cash donations made by a taxpayer if you feel the information is not unusual or questionable. That's true. Okay? We don't require them to provide us with an accounting of every single thing in paper. Okay? If they say, I made donations and I didn't really get anything from them, but it was $250 for the whole year. If that seems normal, if it seems like they're telling the truth, we don't have to actually see proof of it. We're going to take their word. Okay, so 5 is true. In most cases, a volunteer must review photo identification of every taxpayer to deter the possibility of identity theft. True. We want to make sure we're proving identity. Okay. When does the taxpayer sign the tax return? Okay. The taxpayer signs the tax return after quality review and after being told that they are responsible for their tax return. Okay. We prepare off the information they give us. Okay. And they have to know that if something comes back and the IRS starts questioning it, that's not our fault. That's theirs because we did everything they told us to do. And we had no reason to believe that anything they told us was inaccurate. Okay, so D is our answer here. Okay, we tell them to sign the return once we're done. Once they know you are responsible for the accuracy of the return because I'm just putting in what you tell me. And we also make the client go through and look at everything we did them on the return in paper form, and they can take a copy of their return home for them, and they tell us, yep, that all looks right. Okay, that's what that is. So D is our answer here. The site is busy with many taxpayers waiting for assistance. All volunteers are busy preparing tax returns. Can you quality review the return you just prepared instead of waiting for someone to do it? No. No, you cannot. Quality reviewing your own return defeats the purpose of quality review. You have to have a certified quality reviewer like myself or Kat come in and look at it to make sure it's accurate. Okay, so no, self-review is never an acceptable quality review method. C. Which of the following is true? Quality review can be conducted by a volunteer preparer certified at basic when the tax return required an advanced certification to prepare? Nope. Okay, it has to be an advanced quality reviewer. Quality review is conducted after the taxpayer signs the tax return? Nope, before. Okay. Quality review is an effective tool for preparing an accurate tax return? Yep. Okay. Taxpayers don't need to be involved in the quality review process. False. Okay, when we sit there, when I'm quality reviewing a return, I'm going through this, I'm asking them questions. Our taxpayers have to be involved the entire time we're preparing, whether it's the quality review process or something else. Okay, so C is our answer there. Last one, as part of the intake process, each site must have a process to ensure a return is within the scope of the VITA programs. Yep. Identify the certification level needed to prepare the return. Yep. Have a process to ensure volunteers have the certification needed for the returns they prepare. Yep. All of the above. D. Okay. All right. So those are 2 of the 3 exams that need to be prepared and done in Link and Learn at www.linklearncertification.com. So you can go in there and you can get these ones done, get that certificate uploaded to WIO courses or emailed to me.